Welcome to the first CFAC Emancipation Day educational and artistic program. Hello everyone, I am Parmita Kaur, Executive Director of the Community Folk Art Council of Toronto. Today we are deeply honored to present before you our inaugural Emancipation Day artistic and educational program. The Canadian federal government recently voted to declare August 1st as Emancipation Day in commemoration of the Slavery Abolition Act of 1834 throughout the British Empire. To honor this day, we are proud to present the works of two CFAC member groups whose work is resonant and relevant with the themes of Emancipation Day, the Heritage Singers and Geetika Dance Company. Joining me in the studio is Technical Director Mike Enkelwitz. Just a reminder, if you are joining us on Facebook, you do have the option of turning off the captions auto-generated by Facebook. We would like to acknowledge that the land we are broadcasting from is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. We now turn to our first group, the Heritage Singers. The Heritage Singers, now in its 44th year of existence, is a 30-member group dedicated to performing popular songs and sharing Caribbean and African folklore. It was founded in January 1977 by its musical director, Grace Carter Henry Lyons. Grace's folk music experience began in Jamaica with the Jamaica Folk Singers under the direction of the late Miss Olive Lewin. The group is a reflection of the Canadian mosaic found in Toronto, with members hailing from many parts of the world: Barbados, Canada, Ghana, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, Pakistan, St. Lucia, South Africa, St. Vincent, Trinidad and Tobago, and the Congo. The Heritage Singers have a rich repertoire of music, from sacred to secular, religious, work songs to lullaby, seasonal ditty to the perennial ballad. The language of these songs range from discernible Standard English Creole with an English lexical base to French patois, informal Spanish, and African dialect. The group has performed at international folk festivals worldwide, including in Holland, Germany, Taiwan, Venezuela, Jamaica, and Mexico. In North America, they have attended festivals in Harlem, New York, Montreal, Ottawa, and Saskatchewan. In Jamaica, the 1995 annual Maroon Independence Festival in Accompong, and in Toronto, they've performed widely across many venues. Today we feature a number of songs by the Heritage Singers. These songs will be introduced by their artistical director and musical director, Grace Lyons. Here is Grace Lyons of the Heritage Singers.
Good day. I'm Grace Lyons, founder and musical director of Heritage Singers Canada. As asked for us to present these explanation of songs and songs contributing to emancipation. And worldwide, our community and our African brothers and sisters and others all over the world are celebrating the Emancipation Day, that day of freedom from slavery. So I'll be explaining some songs that we'll be doing today. Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. The Negro spirituals all had double meanings: escape plans, sadness, hope for the future when they would be freed from slavery, and the list continues. In keeping with the African tradition to appraise life experiences and plans, in songs, Swing Low relates to the escape route of the Underground Railroad. Sweet Chariot meant the Underground Railroad, not the heavenly vehicle as it sounded. Coming forth to carry me home, take me to freedom in the northern states or Canada. A band of angels coming after me in the song means workers on the Underground Railroad coming to assist them. The other words continue to express another meaning familiar to the other slaves, looking forward to the abolition day and being rescued from slavery. When the slave master heard the singing, he thought the slaves were happy. And then the next day, 3 people are missing who escaped. Now, in reference to wade in the water, which is not on our list, was instructing the slaves that in the effort to escape, they should cross through the water so that the search dogs would not pick up their scent. In this song, the master thought they were describing the hereafter. So that's typical of most of the songs those days. It had double meaning. Thank you.
Sweet Lord, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Sweet Lord, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. I looked over Jordan, and what did I see? Coming for to carry me home. A band of angels running after me, coming for to carry me home. Sweet Lord, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Sweet Lord, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home.
Mr. Bury me head, but no bury me foot on the cool shady. Mr. Bury me head, but no bury me foot on the cool shady. This song Tambo about a slave punishment in Jamaica. Burying the slaves alive with their head above ground with honey on it to attract the ants so that they would die slowly. The slave is begging to be buried with the feet up because they thought their spirit would have a chance to escape and return to their beloved homeland, Africa.
Runs down in the firewood, so tell your neighbor Maliput. Runs down in the firewood, tell your neighbor Maliput. Runs down in the firewood, so tell your neighbor Maliput. Runs down in the firewood. It's a tambo, tambo, tamboyaya. It's a tambo, tambo, tamboyaya. It's a tambo, tambo, tamboyaya. Mr. Tambo, 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 Yaya. Mr. Bernie head, but my Bernie foot on a cool shady. Mr. Bernie head, but my Bernie foot on a cool shady. Mr. Bernie head, but my Bernie foot on a cool shady. Mr. Bernie head, but my Bernie foot on a cool shady. Mr. Tambo, 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 Yaya. Mr. Tambo, Tambo, Tamboyaya. Mr. Tambo, Tambo, Tamboyaya. Mr. Tambo, 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 Tamboyaya.
This song, The Slave Lament, it's a traditional song, and this was preserved, discovered, and transcribed from the Gula dialect by the late Olive Lewin, the leader of the Jamaica folk singers. She was awesome, and I was inspired as having been a member of the group too before coming to Canada. So this slave was describing all the different issues, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. It's a bit sad. This is one of the saddest songs in the lineup.
Oh, carry me along, carry me. When I die.
When August morning come, I want to be free. Excitement building up for Emancipation Day, August 1. That's what this song is all about. And this was written by Barbara Gluden in Jamaica. And it explains the Jamaican situation with the slaves there. There was slavery all over the world. So here, take off the slavery chains and give us back our name, which never happened. The slave master gave his name to the slaves, and the tradition continued because they were powerless to re-register their names. It wouldn't be legal since they were registered with his name and would not be able to do it otherwise. Emancipation Day, papers would be read and the slaves would be able to leave the plantations. So they're saying, read the paper now and make us walk free, if you listen carefully to this song. Many went to Slagerville, Jamaica's first free village, and some returned to the plantations because they had nowhere to go. The Baptists had a very great influence during those days up to the emancipation of slavery, and one of the ministers of the Philippa Baptist Church, he bought some land up in Slagerville, and that was the first free village. The plantation masters were promised reparations, yet the slaves were promised nothing. This song, Train a Blow, describes the activities surrounding the introduction of trains to Jamaica in 1845, 7 years after the abolition of slavery. And we were also the second British colony to have received it, and that's after Canada. Now, as you go through this song, you'll hear, maybe not understanding some of the patois, but in it, you hear some people criticizing some who tried to steal and not pay, which is typical. It's still happening on the GO train today. And I'm very proud of the band. The band did an excellent job to give the sound of the train as it goes along on the lines. And the choreography, I'm very proud of the choreography that was established throughout too. So again, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed our presentation.
Train
Thank you very much to the Heritage Singers for these powerful and soulful songs, and also to their artistic director, Grace Lyons, for giving us the valuable context behind these songs. We now feature our next artistic ensemble, the Geetika Dance Company. Geetika Dance Company is Canada's oldest Odissi, Filmi, and Nagara dance company. Originally founded in 1989, the company was formed as a community outreach for Caribbean and South Asian communities. Now expanded in Durham region, Geetika Dance Company offers lectures, classes, and performances. The company has performed widely across communities all over Toronto and Canada, and events across North America, and is led by its creative director, Premika Leo. Aside from dancing on stage, you would have seen Premika Leo in ads for Bell, Tangerine, World Literacy Canada, Tim Hortons, and IKEA, and she has also appeared in DC's Titans, Kim's Convenience, and as a lead in the second season of Couple-ish. She is also an accomplished circus aerialist and martial artist. Today we feature Geetika Dance Company in one of their signature choreographic works. We will first watch artistic director Premika Leo tell us a bit about her choreographic vision and inspiration and the historical contexts which inspired the work, and then we watch the work itself. Here is Premika Leo and Geetika Dance Company.
Hey, my name is Premika Leo, and today we are unpacking a piece I created in 2019 for Geetika Dance Company entitled Rasya. Rasya is one of my most interesting pieces because this piece is not for the average consumer, I would say. It's not even for the average dancer, where it is meant for fun. This is a think piece. It was made for you to watch a few times and unpack what the message was. And even now, maybe 3 years later for me, I take a look back at that piece and I'm like, oh, you know, it had so many layers to it. I knew that this piece would be difficult for the average person to consume because of the content we were discussing. I have to remind the viewers that our company is a Caribbean company. It's one of the oldest Caribbean dance companies in Canada. And this piece was discussing where did Black women from the Caribbean, the South Asian women from the Caribbean, the mixed women from the Caribbean, where did they find their joy on plantation, and was that possible? What were fashions like? What were the things that they needed to do to both survive and thrive without it being based too much on trauma porn? And that's not an easy thing to do. So I had to reel in the choreo. I had to even reduce the amount of jewelry we were wearing and be very intentional with the pieces. And I focused more on fashion. I focused more on headpiece. I focused on posturing. And I created this piece that really was based on nothing more than intention. One of my favorite parts about Rasya was working on the fashions, and at the time my mother was still alive and she was there working with us. Every year she would put on a fashion show or a show discussing Jahaji heritage and what that meant and what fashion looked like for women of different religions and races, and she became really well known for that actually. So she walked us through what would be best for this. So the materials used in the costuming itself, they're all sourced from Guyana. And we decided on, the group of us, me and the other dancers, we decided on, because there's so many different head wraps from the Caribbean, we decided on the ramaal because it is really versatile. And the ramaal, the traditional ramaal, is usually a stiffened material, and it could either be a madrasi material or it could be a bleached white material that would be a very firm material. But we decided to romanticize it a bit and go with the urnie technique. Urnie coming from the word urnie, and which is usually a lace material, but we decided to go for a pop of color by making the material a dark yet muted red, and I think it was only muted by the brown colors of the body of the costume. And the reason why we went for a more muted color was to reflect fashions of the plantation, but those would eventually change into something a little more different around World War I and World War II, where it was more based on like a single color. And the pop of color would be your urnie, your ramaal, whatever way you were wrapping your hair. And head wraps belong to many of the different racial groups in the Caribbean. So it's not just, one group has it and the other group doesn't. We all had our different types of head wraps. It's just that we chose the ramaal. The ramaal was used as a way to hold back hair. It was a way to protect yourself from the sun, but it was also your wallet. The interesting thing about the ramaal was that you could put your cigarettes, you could put your tobacco, you could put rolling paper, your money, playing cards, all of that would fit into your ramaal. And your ramaal could also, it shares your feelings. Why would you wear a madras ramaal versus your white bleached ramaal? Why would you wear your urnie versus not wearing anything at all? Because there is that component of modesty, but also spiritual protection when it comes to the ramaal. So there actually is two versions of the rasia costume. And so the base of the costume is the urnie tied in the ramaal style, the blouse, the long skirt. But in the stage version versus the film version you will be seeing today, we included a coin headpiece across the forehead on top of the ramaal. And this was a shout out to two things. One was the kulibels, which were women. We don't know if these were indentured women. We do know that they were Indo-Caribbean women who were forced into costume to take pictures for a photographer. We do not know if these women were compensated for their time. More likely than not. I wouldn't be surprised if they were not. And these postcards were used to create tourism for mostly Trinidad and Guyana. But it was this clear objectification, this clear sexualizing of these women who we don't know if they knew what they were doing or where the pictures would go. So it was a shout out to that, but it was also a shout out to the slur gypsy, which sometimes we do receive for the type of dancing we do. And we wanted to say, not your gypsy. And this was also, for me personally, this was solidarity between us and the Romani peoples who also deal with the slur a lot more than we do. The choreo behind rasia is actually extremely interesting, and there's just, again, there's so many layers and components with it. So I wanted to start out with ideology. When you, the viewer, looks at us, or when you, the viewer, thinks West Indian dancer, Caribbean dancer, chutney dancing, Nagara, Tassa, what do you think? And often people think wine up, wildin' out, jungly, koli, gypsy, all these slurs, all these like overtly sexual things. I just wanted people to take a look at why they think those things right off the bat versus getting to truly understand the depth behind Indo-Caribbean, West Indian performance, Caribbean performance. The West Indian people as a whole, we take what we can get, we run with it, we thrive with it, and then we try to find the fun behind it. And we try to find liberation behind it as well. And, a lot of the things that we celebrate are about emancipation, are about freedom. And when someone from the outside looks in and passes judgment, it's often not even their own idea. It's from somewhere else, and you'd be, shocked to find out that it's a colonial standard that you were not meant to have in the first place against people of color, Black women, Indigenous women, which are all important, especially to the Guyanese culture. And what I did was I reeled back all the choreo. All the dance movements we didn't use any nagara, we didn't use any wind-up, we didn't use any chutney, any of that. We just did a really muted, filmy dance. And when we used isolations, it was very controlled and subtle. And what you think is sexy is actually the intention that you're seeing. So you need a very particular type of dancer to do this dance for that reason alone, because these dancers are coming out covered, hair is covered, chest is covered, legs are covered, and all you're seeing is maybe some back, some sternum, some arms, but there's nothing overtly sexual about this dance. So why are you passing judgment? So I wanted to get people to take a good hard look at that and unpack that within themselves and be forgiving with themselves for that as well. Because there was nothing bad about that dance. The other thing is I wanted to introduce joy. Where did we find joy in these really dark times? So I included things that were typical. So the feminist spaces of the Caribbean were often birthing spaces, wedding spaces, before the bride is sent off. But also wherever women could just be together was always going to be an inherently feminist space. And well, what happens there is that you have a lot of hand holding, a lot of conjoining of your bodies, but I also included posturing as well. So I have you can't even see my knees now, but I have the Asian squat and with the hands over the knee, which was to represent the cigarette coming out of the ramaal into the mouth, because cigarettes were important to our living. Honestly, if you're working on a plantation, especially rice or a wet plantation, heat in the form of a cigarette meant life. I remember even my own grandmother telling me that she learned how to smoke at like 6 years old because the woman beside her, holding her baby strapped to her body, pulled out some weed and forced her to smoke so she could just have a little bit of warmth. And I also wanted to shout out I wanted to have that shout out to marijuana because it was the Indo-Pacific and the Indo-Caribbean community that did bring weed to the Americas. And then my last bit of posturing was the shaking out of the skirts. So on top of like the conjoining, the lying on your back, laughing together amongst women. And this is not only just cisgendered women. My pieces are meant to be interpreted for all. But this is how I brought in the concept of joy in difficult times. But also, at the end of the day, this piece represents that though time has passed, a lot of ideology still stays with us today. And it takes pieces like these and difficult conversations to say, hey, we still need to do better. We still need to push forward. And it can't just be in the hands of the people being oppressed. It has to be everyone, all hands on deck. Because we see today, we still have the BLM movement. Time has not changed much. The system's just got a new mask, and that's what I wanted to bring to light with my Russia piece. So at the end of the day, what are you going to pull from this piece when you watch it for the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time? Take your time with it. Digest it. Walk away from it. Come back to it. Please reach out to us at Geetika_dance on Instagram or the Geetika Dance Company on Facebook. Thank you so much for having us today. Please, please, please reach out. We love to hear from people, and we will see you. We'll see you somewhere. Bye.
और नस नस में अंगार रसिया जो मनवा चुरा इस तरह बता दे री गुरिया है वो कौन रसिया जो मनवा चुरा इस तरह वो चलिया वो रसिया जुल्मी मन बसिया वो चलिया वो रसिया हाय जुल्मी मन बसिया नैनन से मिलाए के नैन वो लूटे निंदिया चैन वो वो चलिया वो रसिया बिगड़ी बनत बनत बन गई गोरिया मनत मनत मन गई अग्नि जलत जलत जल गई चुनरी ढलत ढलत ढल गई रसिया रसिया मनत मन गई चलिया चलिया बता दे रे गुरिया है वो कौन रसिया जो मनवा चुरा इस तरह सिपैया जो तैयार है मनवा चुराई मोरा थी नजर तो कब थी खबर मन में वो ऐसे बिराजेगा मन भड़का तो यूं धड़का क्या कोई टंका बाजेगा मैं घबराई मैं बोराई लाज बहुत मुझे आई जब सैया ने जोर से कस के थाम ली मोर कलाई फिर घिर घिर आई आंखें चारों ओर छाई और टूट के बरसी प्रेम बदरिया चलिया वो रसिया बनत बनत बन गई गोरिया मनत मनत मन गई बदरिया गिरत गिरत गिर गई बिजुरिया गिरत गिरत गिर गई बीते नहीं रतिया मोरी कटते नहीं अब मोरे दिन पास मिलो या न मिलो ये भी कठिन और वो भी कठिन जो न मिलूं तो मन मोरा तड़पे मोहे भी तड़पाए और मिलूं तो ध्यान ये आए वो मुझे छोड़ न जाए वो जो प्यार देता है कोई कैसे आजमाए जाने झूठा है या सच्चा है सावरिया चलिया ओ रसिया जुल्मी मन बसिया बिगड़ी बनत बनत बन गई गोरिया मनत मनत मन गई नजरिया मिलत मिलत मिल गई गोरिया गिरत गिरत गिल गई बिगड़ी बनत बनत बन गई गोरिया मनत मनत मन गई नजरिया मिलत मिलत मिल गई गोरिया गिरत गिरत गिल गई
thank you very much to Geetika Dance Company for sharing this dance, and to the company's artistic director, Premika Leo, for sharing the insight and historical context behind its choreographic inspiration. And thank you all for joining our program today and for joining us on our first Emancipation Day artistic and educational program. This program would not have been possible without the support of the Community Folk Art Council of Toronto's Board of Directors, comprising Catherine Limberty, Fatih Karacacelli, Susan Fisek, Grace Lyons, Odette Aguinaldo, and CFAC Chair Dr. Mary Jane Warner, and our Technical Director Mike Enkelwitz. If you enjoyed this program, please consider donating to the Community Folk Art Council of Toronto to support valuable cultural and educational programs of music, dance, and intangible heritage. To donate and for more information about our organization, please visit our website at communityfolkartcouncil.com. We will be sharing this link on our social media as well. On behalf of all of us at the Community Folk Art Council of Toronto, we thank you for joining us on our journey today and hope you will join us in the future.